This is the Samsung Galaxy A32 5G, and it is the cheapest 5G device that Samsung offers right now, and as the tip of the iceberg, it has a massive 2-day battery, literally. So, hello there guys, I'm Vic here from Phone Arena, tuning in to give you a review and unboxing of the Samsung Galaxy A32 5G. Moving on to the package then, we have the awesome white motto here. The box kind of just slides like that, and you're greeted with the usual manuals. Following that is the phone itself, covered in some plastic satisfaction. Further down, you'll find the charging brick, and there's nothing unusual about it. It's 15 watts, just the regular one from Samsung. Of course, besides the brick, you get the USB A2 Type-C cable, can't go without one. And finally, you have a small pin for the SIM tray. You sadly don't get any headphones, but at least you keep the charger. To begin with, the display would be a good idea because Samsung decided to disappoint me with this one. The 5G variant comes equipped with a 720 by 1600 pixel display, which is capped at 60 Hz. That's really not that amazing given the screen size of 6.4 inches. And not only that, but it's also not AMOLED. Instead, you're getting a rather dull IPS display with a slight ghosting going on for it. So it could have been better. Otherwise, colors are fine and brightness should do you good outside with a peak of around 557 nits measured by us. This phone also has a 4G variant and it starts at around $249 and it's identical to this model, but it does have one better feature, and that is its 90Hz 1080p AMOLED display, which simply thrashes this one. My guess is that Samsung needed to bring the cost down on the 5G model, which is why they skimped on the display, and personally I think that was a bad decision, but nevertheless, this is what we get. So design-wise, the device is actually a hipster. To put it into other words, the back is a glossy plastic, which I'm not a fan of, but the camera bump is non-existent. Instead, what you get here are slight protrusions from each camera lens. Additionally, the fingerprint sensor is on the side here, which I'm a fan of. I only wish Samsung had decided to either put a glass back or just own the plastic and make it matte, and possibly make the chin on the display slightly smaller. Otherwise, in terms of thickness, this device is as thick as a brick, and it's probably one of the first things you notice in hand. But if we exclude that, this is a rather, refreshing design. The camera situation here is actually pretty good for the money. The cameras are 4 in the back, and one of them is a depth sensor. Now, I'll pull up a quick image just to show the specs here, and as you can see, we have an additional ultra-wide and macro camera. Now, since this phone is not exactly top of the line, I wasn't expecting much, but I was honestly surprised to see it do this good. It lacked a few key features, such as optical stabilization, but we'll get to that in a bit. In almost every scenario, it looked okay in terms of color, but the main sensor was having a bit of difficulty with dynamic range from time to time. Otherwise, pretty decent photos, but don't try and zoom in too much because quality starts to drop rapidly. Zooming in at 10 times produced paintings instead of photos, but we should add that the iPhone 12 can't even zoom as much and isn't that impressive to begin with, so at least you get the option here. How about portrait mode then? Well, I'll give it this one. It might not have the best camera, but Samsung's processing does manage to save the day in most cases. Photos came out with a good amount of background blur, and the subject, in this case me, was well cut out. The ultra-wide camera is also pretty good. It has very good colors and decent dynamic range, but it lacks in detail quite a lot. Then we finally reach the macro camera. It's not the greatest, but it's close to what the A52 offers, and it's there if you do ever decide to use it, and with the right conditions, it can produce a good image. What surprised me was the video quality, which would have been decent had Samsung included some form of optical stabilization. I decided to record at 4K with 30 FPS and I couldn't see much of how it performed, mainly because the footage was extremely jittery. Exposure and colors were good, but once again, stabilization would have been good to see here. You can lower the video down to 1080p, which would give you some electronic stabilization, and the quality here is also more than good. But then I'd have to ask, why even include a 4K option? Recording videos with the ultra-wide is also possible, but I didn't notice it being any more stable than the main camera. Quality is lower, of course, but it's nice to take some wide videos from time to time. In terms of low light performance, I wouldn't exactly depend on this device. There's simply too much noise and colors are not really accurate. Night mode also doesn't seem to help much when I tried to switch over to it because noise was still creeping in. So yeah, not the best here. How about the front camera then? Honestly, pretty good for bright outdoor use. Its colors are spot on and its sharpness is pretty good, but if you turn off the lights, you'll notice how noise creeps in quite a lot. Night mode tries to redeem it, but it doesn't really help much, so I also wouldn't depend on night mode for the front camera here too. But before I end the camera segment, let's also emphasize the fact that this is the cheapest 5G phone from Samsung. So given the phone's background, its camera actually did a good job. I'm just giving it a lot of salt here when comparing it to other devices which are actually higher ranked than this one. In terms of performance, this device is actually not bad. This is not the device you come to if you're looking for speed, but it's decent enough if you're aiming to watch some videos and play casual games, especially at work. The Galaxy A32 comes equipped with a lower mid-range MediaTek chip. It's not really that slow, but you will get the occasional stutter. My Geekbench score came up with around 474 points on a single core and a multi-core score of around 1551 points, which is slightly behind the A52 4G model, so expect acceptable performance in casual games and more than good enough behavior while you're looking up an Excel table. In terms of battery life, this device is actually amazing. Amazing. It comes equipped with a 5000 mAh battery, which should last you 2 days with normal usage, as it did for me. By the way, I'm saying it's amazing because this is the longest lasting battery I've tried from Samsung. I did a battery test by browsing the web at 60 Hz and it lasted around 18 hours and 40 minutes. To put that into perspective, the average phone lasts around 12 to 14 hours on this same test. And the A52, which was a battery champ, mind you, lasted around 16 hours on that test, so honestly, impressive. Then I tried some YouTube at work and it managed to do 11 hours and 25 minutes, which is amazing. I'm assuming it lasts this much because the screen is 720p paired with this massive battery, but you know, who am I to say? Charging speeds are kind of decent, not the fastest I've seen, but with 15 watts it's better than nothing. So I guess if you need a long-lasting phone with the Samsung ecosystem, this might be it. Feature-wise, the Galaxy A32 is not exactly the best. It does include a microSD card slot at the cost of your second SIM card, and it does preserve its headphone jack. Praise the sun. You also have 5G support, but it's limited to sub-6 speeds, so don't expect blazing fast network speeds here. I mean, honestly, the best thing about this phone is its monstrous battery and One UI 3.0 from Samsung. In any other scenario, saving up just a bit more for the Galaxy A52 would be a much better option, especially if you need a better camera, display, and would want water resistance, for instance. To conclude things here for the Samsung Galaxy A32, it's an okay phone. It's not something I'd use myself because I prefer OLED displays and having at least optical stabilization for making better videos, but I can certainly see how it can be useful if you need 5G and a big 2-day battery at a lower cost. So, if you don't really care for watching too many videos or doing too much on your device and want something that just works and takes a photo and video or two from time to time while also having 5G support, this is your device. Otherwise, I'd just get the 4G variant or choose something else entirely. With the interest of keeping this short though, if I missed anything, let me know down in the comments below, and if you're interested in more future content like this, subscribe to Phone Arena and I'll most likely see you guys some other time.